Well, hello. It is time for Pod Sawthoth again. Hi, I'm Todd Beardsley, and I'm here today with my lovely wife and co-host, Claire Reynolds.
Your clo-host.
My clo-host, Claire Reynolds.
That's what I am. I'm a clo-host.
And today we're going to talk about The Hound, which was first published in the February of 1924 issue of Weird Tales. And so it's a pretty good one. I like this story a lot.
Also, real quick hot take. The Hound is one of the sexiest Game of Thrones characters.
For fuck's sake, will you shut your hole?
Move on.
Sure.
Let's go on.
Sure.
Right.
Without remark. So this is The Hound. So Claire said to me the other day, hey, we're going to have way too many dogs in the house.
So Claire says. So she says.
So are there any Lovecraft stories about dogs? And I said, well, Claire, Howard Phillips Lovecraft was more of a cat guy than a dog guy. And the dogs are usually villains. And that is the case in this story. So I guess warning, when you hear this, there may be a cacophony of barking suddenly.
They didn't.
Probably not. But, we have extra dogs in the house right now. So that's why we read The Hound today. And I'm not super familiar with The Hound. Like, in fact, I read it for the show 3 or 4 days ago, and I don't remember ever reading the story. I'm sure I have, but I don't remember. This is a story that is basically fresh for me, which is unusual with Lovecraft stuff. But we'll get into it because I really, really, really like this story.
It's cute. Sure, it's cute.
It's cute, yeah. That's
Yeah, and even Lovecraft.
Are you kidding me?
Yeah.
This is awesome. So it is about two degenerates who are so bored.
So bored. Oh my God, I'm so bored.
They're so bored. They turn to kinky sex? No. Do they turn to larceny or burglary?
Kinda.
A little. Do they do any murder? No.
Oh.
Do they do do literally any drugs, alcohol? No. The depths of their depravity lead them to grave robbing. And why are they this way? Well, I do have some notes on that.
All right, go on.
All right. There is a passage in here on why they're so bored. And it is, and allow me to read it. The enigmas of the symbolists and the ecstasies of the pre-Raphaelites were ours in their time, but each new mood was drained too soon of its diverting novelty and appeal. Only the somber philosophy of the decadence could hold us, and this we found potent only by increasing gradually the depth and diabolism of our penetrations. Baudelaire and Huysmans were soon exhausted of thrills, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So that is like two sentences that is, I think, intended to establish like, oh, these guys aren't fucking around. Like, they've done it all. Have they, though?
I don't know. It didn't occur to me until now, that you being a former goth would absolutely get these guys.
I love these guys. These guys were me.
Hello and welcome to Goth Talk.
Okay. To me, I was like, oh, these are fucking Holden Caulfield or whatever.
Yes,
in the ride.
they are Holden's Caulfield.
Holden's Caulfield.
and I have some notes. So like the enigmas of the symbolists, So the symbolists and the pre-Raphaelites were both like 19th century artistic movements, mostly in France, a little bit in England, especially when you get to the decadents. So like among the decadents, so the most famous decadent around was Oscar Wilde, right? So it's like, oh, we're so bored of Oscar Wilde. It's like, you don't get to be bored of Oscar Wilde. He's fucking rad. But okay, like we're setting it, right? Like we're setting the scene of like, here are these two dudes who live alone in a house on the moors and are just.
And if Oscar Wilde is they're contemporaries of Oscar Wilde, right? Are they?
Oscar Wilde is earlier than this.
Okay,
so,
but how much earlier?
Not terribly much. So Oscar Wilde is 19th century, so like 1880s ish is his period. But like when they're talking about like the ecstasies of the pre-Raphaelites, like that was very much a they wanted to like blend historical art and mythological art to make like one thing, because like it's a very truthy sort of art that's not actually true. Oh, hang on.
Come on. Come out. What's up?
Go ahead. We're recording right now.
Can you turn off the parental thing? It turned off the 10.
Jesus fucking Christ. I was talking about the pre-Raphaelites. Unbelievable. Completely.
That's the funniest.
Unbelievable. Fucking believable. I don't even remember where we are.
Listeners, our 12-year-old son just came in and interrupted us by asking us if we could turn off the parental controls because tomorrow is a holiday. It's not normally a holiday. And it's a Monday morning. Sunday night, you'd normally have to be going to bed early.
All right, what the fuck were we talking about?
I don't know. You were going on about... Okay.
All right, hang on. So anyway, pre-Raphaelites.
Nothing to see here. Move along.
They're great, and everyone loves them. Like I had a whole bunch of notes. So I kind of did a deep dive on these two sentences of like, what the fuck are they talking about with the symbolists, the pre-Raphaelites, the decadence. The thing that jumped out at me the most was the quote, the somber philosophy of the decadence. When you think of Oscar Wilde, you don't think somber.
So here's what happened with me. Like, okay. I applaud you for looking this up. I think this must have triggered something from like my college days where I was like madly in love with anybody who was a super quote unquote intellectual, which then, like after hours of listening to them talking about whatever the shit is, I was like, snore.
But that's the thing, right? Like, the intent of this paragraph is to like show how they've done it all. They've been around the world twice, and they're out of thrills.
Been there and back,
right.
Baby.
And so all they have to do is grave robbing. And in fact, with the boy here, I asked him earlier today. It's like, hey, we're talking about this story on the podcast about these two dudes who are so bored they turn to grave robbing. And he said, what? And I said, yeah. So next time you think that you're very bored, think, are you bored enough to go grave robbing?
Oh, that's a good.
Because I'm in that with you.
Not,
if you need to do that, that's a thing we can do.
If not, then I don't want to hear about it.
Right. Yeah, and it just like as I'm reading like this first bit, like this speaks to every goth in their heart. It's like, oh, I'm so bored of all the pedestrian thrills of life, and I need to like, hit it harder. What it reminded me of weirdly was were like the exploitation movies of like the 60s and 70s, right? So like I was thinking of Wild Rebels, which is a 1967 movie.
I don't know what that is.
It is amazing. You should definitely watch it. I watched The Wild Rebels, which was released in 1967 when I was 13 years old, I think, because of Mystery Science Theater.
Oh, okay.
And
wait, that's been out that long?
Oh, yeah.
Wow.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
And yeah, early MST 3K on old-timey Comedy Central. It was like one of the first Comedy Central shows from Bad Brains, was the production company. But yeah, I saw Wild Rebels, and it was the 60s like biker, we don't give a shit movie about like bikers and hippies, and like the tagline of that movie was like, oh, it was all for the kicks, baby. But like they did things. They like robbed people and committed crime and all that. But it reminded me of that. And it reminded me strongly of Dracula AD 1972, which we saw just this last Halloween. with Christopher Lee.
Oh, yeah.
About the hippies that show up in the castle.
That's right.
And they pretend to do some occult thing, but then it turns out Dracula's there.
That's right.
And then, of course, the 80s movies of Return of the Living Dead and Night of the Demons, where it's all like a bunch of bored teenagers who are, just looking for thrills and looking toward the occult for them. But the worst thing they can think of is grave robbing.
Do you ever wish you could just unhinge your jaw?
What?
I don't know. That's a question. Okay, so anyway.
So they're nerds and they need anything to feel. And
have you tried drugs?
Have you tried fucking each other?
Instead of desecrating people's graves.
And apparently they do this a lot. Like, that's the thing.
No, it would be one thing if it was like, oh, we needed money and medical students needed bodies, but they're not even doing that. They're just taking shit. Which brings me to, okay, so they're talking about, where are they when they're talking about they have a museum?
They have the unnamed museum.
They've created their own museum.
In their basement.
Yes. Okay.
This museum sounds awesome, by the way. So it's full of skulls.
Mm-hmm. A lot of museums are. Let's be fair.
Much like the British Museum. Full of skulls. And also, but the thing I love the most about this museum is the series of pneumatic pipes that pipes in particular smells and odors according to their mood. And so sometimes it smells like lilies, and sometimes it smells like incense from tombs of kings, which is heroin or opium, I guess. And sometimes it smells like an uncovered grave, which is the gothest fucking thing I've ever heard in my life, and I definitely want this in my garage.
Yeah. You really should get into independent perfumeries because there are a lot of goth women creating independent perfumes, and they're like they're described like uncovered graves.
This is a class of perfumery, not like a brand.
Yeah,
it's not like independentperfumeries.com or anything.
No.
Okay.
And there's a lot of witchy ladies who are creating perfumes, and yes. But I would like to so getting to these guys who they created their own museum. I would like to read. You can cut out however much of this you want. I would like to read a portion Washington Post article from February 27th, 2019.
February 2017th.
2019. February 27th, 2019, by Antonia Nouri Farzan.
Okay.
By all accounts, the amateur museum that Donald C. Miller ran out of his home in the cornfields of central Indiana wasn't exactly a secret. Newspaper reporters, Boy Scout troops, and residents of the rural farming community of Waldron, Indiana, were all invited to drop in and look around in his basement, where glass cases covered most of the walls. Tens of thousands of rare cultural artifacts were on display, including pre-Columbian pottery, Ming Dynasty jade, an Egyptian sarcophagus, and a dugout canoe that had traveled down the Amazon River.
Tens of thousands.
And the eccentric nonagenarian collector was part of the attraction. I mean, this man, he's an amazing piece of history, etc., etc. But when the FBI's art crime detectives showed up and began sifting through Miller's extensive collection in April 2014, suspecting that many of the relics carefully laid out in the cabinets had been obtained in violation of antiquities laws, they came across something that horrified them. About 2,000 human bones, nearly all of which are thought to have been taken from ancient Native American burial sites. To the best of our knowledge right now, those 2,000 bones represent about 500 human beings.
Oh, great. Wonderful.
Tim Carpenter, who heads the FBI's art theft unit, told CBS News in an interview that aired Tuesday, "It's very staggering." Anyway,
okay.
Sorry.
So, I'm sorry, what year was this, 2019?
This article was written in 2019, yes. We'll link to it in the show notes.
Yeah, of course we will. That is incredible.
Yes. Reading the story, I was like, oh, I remember that because I remember reading that, and I was like,
You're from central Indiana.
Yeah, this dude just had barns full of
Bones.
Yes. We've been showing to Boy Scout troops.
Clearly, he was bored of Baudelaire and Huysmans.
And it didn't occur to me that he was a goth this whole time.
That guy is goth
just
AF.
a 91-year-old goth.
Nonagenarian.
Yeah, nonagenarian.
Goth. That's all I want to be. Is a nonagenarian goth.
I hope you make it that long too, honey.
Yeah, me too.
Our museum was a blasphemous, unthinkable place, where with the satanic taste of neurotic virtuosi, where huge winged demons carven of basalt and onyx vomited from wide grinning mouths weird green, orange, and orange light, and hidden pneumatic pipes ruffled into kaleidoscopic dances of death.
Yeah, it's super awesome.
Yeah.
And so their museum is rad. They talk about this for a while, right?
Mm-hmm. Oh my God, you guys, our place was awesome.
Yeah, it's super rad. They're doing demonology. They're being very like. I'm also reminded not only of all these like 60s through aughts movies, but it's a very like kind of Crowleyan approach to occultism. It's like, oh well, what like tickles your fancy? Mm-hmm. And for these guys, it's grave robbing, and then they go off on an adventure. And let me talk about St. John. So
yes, I was going to ask about that. Why are you calling him St. John?
Because that is how you pronounce that goddamn name. It is pronounced St. John. It's spelled ST period space
St. John.
JOHN, but you pronounce it St. John.
Where did you hear this?
This is just how you pronounce that name.
No, I'm sorry. I believe I'm not saying I don't agree with you, which I don't.
It is a common given name and surname.
Give me an example.
I'll give you 1,000 examples. Hang on.
Like, so when you read this, you just are claiming you automatically knew that it was the name was pronounced St. John and not St. John.
Yeah, it's very English actually. I don't know. So they live in, I assume, Devonshire, which is north of London because of geographical clues they give later. And in England, if you see the name ST period space JOHN, you pronounce it St. John, as far as I know. And it's just the way it is.
Okay. All right. Well, listeners, we'll argue about this later.
Why? Okay. Hang on.
I just want him to cite a source. That's all.
Allow me to read to you the Quora.com question.
Why
do British people pronounce St. John as St. John? They do so only when as part of the name. St. John's College or St. John the Baptist are pronounced roughly as would be expected. It is one of a number of customary pronunciations in British names. There is no rhyme or reason other than because they're fucking British.
Rock on! Rock over London. Rock on Chicago. Email us if you email me if you know that reference.
Yes. I'm not going to give it away. Other than it has been done so for many tens, if not hundreds of years, people hang on to it as a tribal custom. So. Oh,
so you're being.
I'm being extra Anglo. Okay.
You're being extra. Got it. Yeah. That's fine. That's all.
So American readers, pay attention whenever you see St. John written down as someone's first name or last name, and it's not talking about St. John the Baptist. It's pronounced St. John. Anyway, St. John. He's a guy.
I cannot wait to be in London and hear what they have to say about this.
Also, we're going to London. We'll talk about that after we talk about this show.
Cannot wait to hear if they think you're a self-important asshole.
Probably. But, I mean, as a decadent, I pronounce it St. John.
Okay.
So St. John is clearly the power in this relationship. He is the dominant. It is all St. John's idea.
Hot.
And he's like, hey, dude, unnamed narrator, which is common, as we found in Lovecraft. Hey, dude, let's go to Holland. And I know a grave we need to rob. And
do you mean the Netherlands?
Well, I mean, in the text, it's Holland.
Holland, Michigan, obviously.
No, it's Rotterdam, Holland.
Well, okay.
And so they take the ferry again, probably from Devonshire. And then they
Just here for color.
they,
Color commentary.
no, you're here for the shocking and earth-shattering revelations, which I'm expecting on this one. Anyway, so they go there and they burgle the... and they definitely are burgling because it's at night.
The Hamburglar.
No, they're grave burglars. Which is a much darker version of the Hamburglar. Robble.
Rabble, rabble.
And so they burgle this grave in Rotterdam. And they are surprised that this 500-year-old corpse is not as desiccated as they were expecting. It has a wonderful set of teeth.
No, I've lost track. Why were they here? Why this grave?
Well, they had heard about this guy who, like them, was a grave robber.
Oh, that's right. They're grave robbing a grave robber.
They're grave robbing a grave robber,
right.
and it's grave robber on grave robber crime.
Oh, the irony!
I know, right? Like, if you, dear listener, are a grave robber, watch your fucking back when you're dead. Don't get buried with anything cool like an amulet, like these guys are definitely going to take. So they dig them up, and by the way, I really do enjoy and appreciate their attention to detail here. These guys are the toreadors of grave robbers. They have to set up time, season, moonlight, weather, and all of the things. Or else it's just like, why even bother? Like they are...
I bet one person listening to this knows what you're talking about.
I bet more than one.
Two?
Prove me wrong.
Listeners, if you know what he's talking about, write in.
As a toreador of grave robbing as an art. So they are grave robbing, but they do it in a very methodical way because, like, hey, if you're going to create a memory, create a fucking memory.
Right.
You know, like, do your staging work. Know your lighting. Know where the microphone is. All of that is very important. So they're going to grave rob this guy.
Oh, I get it. We were no vulgar ghouls.
We're no vulgar ghouls.
Only under certain conditions of mood, landscape, environment, weather, season, and moonlight.
Yes. So they go there, they dig this dude up, they take his amulet, and they are out. This was a bad idea, turns out. They recognize the amulet, and they recognize it as something they've read about in a little book called The Necronomicon. And this is the first mention of the Necronomicon in HP Lovecraft's works, so this story is important. Again, I don't know how I've gone this long in my life not being intimately familiar with the Hound. This is the first mention of the Necronomicon, first mention of Abdul as al-Hazred, and it turns out this amulet is, well, first off, not great to hold on to.
It's a bold strategy, Cotton. Let's see if it pays off for him.
Not great, Bob.
Yeah, so they take this thing, and this is not good. So it's a little jade amulet that goes around one's neck, and it has apparently the soul of a ghoul attached to it. Now, I want to say it's after Pickman's model. It has to be, because, by the way, I forgot to mention early on when we were talking about all the artists and poets and shit. He mentions Goya as, like, they have some drawings that are by Goya but unattributed in their museum, which is, like, kind of baller. We talked about Goya on this very podcast in episode 2, the Pickman's model discussion. And if you are not a Goya devotee, I don't even know what you're doing listening to this podcast.
I am not a Goya devotee. I know the
It's Saturn
name.
eating his son.
Yes, okay,
Yeah.
I know that one, but okay.
Oh, if you just
Sorry.
Google image search Goya, enter.
I know, I
think.
get it.
You get a bunch of
You get
crazy
some fucking
stuff.
amazing beans.
Nope, not the beans. It has nothing to do with the beans. No, he's
I
great.
know. I'm sorry.
He's a
Yes,
great
you
artist.
married a non-goth.
Yeah, it's fine.
It's
Anyway,
fine. It's
so they
fine.
steal the amulet.
Tell me about Debbie Gibson.
They steal the amulet, and then we go
I mean,
into...
these guys have never read they're like, let's take this amulet from this oddly non-decomposed corpse.
Right. Yeah.
It's a great idea.
Who could have seen this coming?
Yes.
And
Okay.
and then we go into part 2.
Less than a week after our return to England, strange things began to happen.
I would say.
So why? Okay, it goes right into we lived as recluses, devoid of friends, alone, and without, oh my God, without servants.
Why? How could you even live without servants?
I don't know.
But without
I
servants.
don't get this. Like,
Yeah.
why is this relevant? Like, I assume that these total assholes lived like this before.
Oh yeah, yeah. They've been living like this for a while. Like
Yeah.
this is how
So
this is what
why-
affords them the privacy
Right.
to build their nameless
And
museum.
also, they're creepy and no one wants to hang out with them.
Also, they're super creepy.
But why is this just coming up now? Like, they're talking about it as if it were a new thing?
I think it's just like reestablishing that they're
Okay.
they're outsiders, and there's definite links with the Lovecraft story, The Outsider,
Okay.
with this story. Yeah, so they're on an unfrequented moor, which is where you want to live
I would like to go live there.
when you're getting haunted by a hound, perhaps of the Baskerville, which definitely, by the way, has to be an influence on this story. So Hounds of the Baskervilles was first published in 1901. HP Lovecraft would have definitely had access to it, and so there's this is where the baying of the hounds starts to be a thing, right?
Okay.
Everywhere they go, they hear this baying of the hound, and they live on a moor.
And it all leads to Mr. Burns releasing the hound.
Yes, when they bark, bees shoot out of their mouths.
And also,
It's seldom disturbed, but of course, weird shit starts happening. So this was on September 24th, blah, 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 blah. This happened. And then
on September 24th, 1998.
something. Whoa! It's in the future. Marty!
Wait a minute, Doc.
Things get creepy real fast. So people are, figures are showing up at their house. There's a knock at his door, a rapping upon his chamber door, which is met with shrill laughter. It turns out it wasn't St. John after all. Things go south real fast. And then one day, St. John is coming home. He's at the rail station, and he gets torn to shreds.
Well, how is his wife holding up? To shreds, you say?
Poor St. John. And I'm sorry, I'm going to call him St. John.
You could, but you'd be wrong.
His name is Gary St. John.
Nope, it's St. John, last name unknown.
Fine. Okay. My friend was dying when I spoke to him. And he could not. Wow, I just sounded like Keanu Reeves trying to do it. When he could not answer coherently. All he could do was to whisper. I'm sorry. I come out. Oh, Keanu Reeves in Dracula. I've got it nailed. Okay.
Perfect.
The amulet, that damn thing. Then he collapsed, an inert mass of mangled flesh.
Yeah.
Ow.
Yep. Super dead.
Okay. Here is what really stuck out to me. Okay. Then he collapsed, an inert mass of mangled flesh. I buried him the next midnight, one of our neglected guardians, and mumbled over his body.
It struck me as very what we do in the shadows. Because I assume when he says neglected garden, he means yard.
Yeah. Look, did I call the police? No. Did
No,
I
obviously not.
contact anyone? Literally? No.
I also like that he mumbles one of St. John's favorite diabolical prayers. It's like, dear Lord Satan, please take upon you, blah, 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 blah. And, I like that a lot.
One fish, two fish, red fish, blue fish.
I hope that when I am discovered, torn to shreds, you say, that I too am buried as you mumble one of my favorite demonic intonations.
Friday, I'm in love.
That's right. Exactly. So he buried him, and then the unnamed narrator then kind of hangs out for a couple days. He's like, you know what? Fuck this. I am burning down this museum. This was a bad idea the entire time.
The feds are probably going to show up at some point.
Yep. So he burns down his house, including the museum, in a very Louis sort of way.
Oh, yeah.
Yes, this house is
Lord.
cursed,
Yes.
and your master is the devil, et cetera, et cetera. And then he's like, you know what? I'm going to go to London, because why not? Because I'm close. And so he goes to London. And
No, I just want to take a moment to appreciate how Anne Rice thought Brad Pitt and Tom Cruise, this is bullshit. This is going to be awful. And it turns out they were amazing.
You condemn me to hell! I don't know any hell.
So he goes to London, and he goes to Victoria Embankment, which is lovely, and we'll be there in about 4 weeks, Claire. We, too, can walk along Victoria Embankment and see if the
Hear the baying of the
hounds...
hounds.
See if the hounds will bay
Hounds
at
of
us.
hell.
And he's like, well, how about this? How about I return this amulet? So he goes back to Holland.
How about, so what my theory presupposes is that I take this amulet back to
Yeah.
the dead guy that had it, and maybe none of this happened.
Maybe we just call it even.
Exactly. Let's.
Goes back to Holland, attempts to return the amulet, but unfortunately he is robbed along the way by evil Dutch thieves. The Netherlands, as you know,
blonde
are shot through
with evil Dutch thieves.
with thieves, rapscallions, rogues, etc. And so you cannot possibly think that you could just walk around Rotterdam with a cool-ass
I know.
amulet.
They're just like they're carrying hunks of cheese and tulips and weed.
Yep.
And
So they rob him, but joke's on them. They all get moitered, and they get moitered hard, and it turns out, and it's like in the news the next day, it's like, hey, newsflash, thieves' tenement sees a red death not seen since whenever.
bunch of dead thieves found with nothing left behind but cheese and tulips.
Yep.
Also weed.
Also,
Never mind. Wait, the weed
Some
was definitely
sweet
not
weed.
found. Nope. Weed not found.
nope. So he's like, well, dang. But then he carries on for some reason and then like tries to dig up.
Okay, here's my question. Why?
I don't know. This
Would he
part,
go on? Like,
this part makes no sense to me.
If I was trying to return an evil amulet to an evil
Which has
corpse,
definitely killed my best friend
Yeah.
/ lover.
Yeah. Oh, I had not thought about that. It hadn't occurred to me. I don't know. Okay, so anyway, what is he going to do? He's going to dig up this grave and be like, yo, dude, I was totally going to bring this amulet
Right.
back to you. But then these guys came and like they fucking robbed me. And now I don't have the amulet, but I was going to give it to you.
He knows not why he went
knows
thither, unless to pray or gibber out insane pleas and apologies to the calm white thing that lay within. But whatever his reason, he attacked the half-frozen sod with a desperation partly his and partly that of a dominating will outside himself.
And then this poor raven vulture, whatever it is,
vulture.
comes in, is like, I'm going to help you out. And he's like, no,
Nope.
I'm not. I'm going to smash you with this shovel.
I need the XP. So
Yeah.
he bangs dead this vulture. He digs up this guy, and he was going to just gibber and
I guess.
I don't know, say demonic things, which is his way.
Mea culpa. So sorry.
Yeah. But turns out the amulet is already there because this guy is clearly the Hound the whole time. He is a ghoul. He is a ghoul
from Game of Thrones.
Nope, he is not the Hound from Game of Thrones. He is a hound. That is because the ghoul, as we saw in Pickman's model, the ghouls have very canid faces, and so this guy is like a super ghoul. He's an uber ghoul. He is the ghoul priest, as seen in Night of the Zealot. And so, like when it came in range, he's like, "Oh, these
Yeah.
thief assholes."
Oh,
has
I don't
my-
have to like buy a plane ticket or anything
Right.
to go get it.
I'm just
go
gonna
get it.
go get it.
Yeah.
And he comes back, and
Okay.
because he's all like, He's enervated. His
Right.
teeth are ensanguated.
Yes.
And so he's clearly been out on the town.
Yeah.
And
If I'm our narrator, I'm like, oh,
you
sweet.
have you
no
have
harm,
it.
No harm, no foul. Okay.
Right.
Sorry, bro. My bad. Will not do it again. I'm
Yeah,
so
and I
glad
think
got
that's
it
what
worked
he's
out.
doing.
Yeah.
He's like, oh, I saw it, and I guess I'm out. But this guy's still kind of mad at him, and he doesn't want to be enervated like Sinjin was. He doesn't want to be ripped to shreds. He's just going to take
Right.
his revolver and, fix himself. I have 2 more notes. Pelf is a fun word.
Pelf?
Yeah, there is so
Or was it?
Lovecraft. You go find it. So he uses the noun pelf. He later then uses the term tomb loot, which I freaking love, and
Okay,
they mean the same thing. Pelf is an archaic English word that first started seeing use in the 15th century, kind of fell out of favor about the 17th century, and
Immediately upon beholding this amulet, we knew that we must possess it. That this treasure alone was our logical pelf from the century to grave.
yeah, it really struck out at me, and I'm like, I have to know the origin and etymology of this word, and it comes from a French word of pelfrou, and pelfrou. Yeah. I've learned the secret of speaking French is just like drop the last 5 letters, and it is the root of the English word pilfer, by the way, and it has and it basically means. It's loot. It's
Okay, was our
Yeah.
Okay, we must possess it. That this treasure alone was logically the one thing that we should have from the century grave.
I really like this word a lot, and I'm going to use it every day.
I like it.
The other point I wanted to make in this story was the mention of inaccessible Lang in Central Asia, and so that is about some cannibal cult that is there. But Lang is
The
mentioned.
Plateau of Lang?
Lang is mentioned in this story.
How's it spelled?
Leng.
Oh, like the Plateau of Lang.
Mm-hmm.
The ghastly soul symbol of the corpse-eating cult of inaccessible Lang in
Right.
Central Asia.
So there's a corpse-eating cult in inaccessible Lang, as you might expect. But Lang shows up.
I mean, if you're in an inaccessible area, you got to eat what you can eat.
Yeah, it's also the Donner Party, right? But Lang shows up throughout. Plateau of Lang is in the Dreamlands. That's where the Spiders of Lang are from. That's where the Corsairs from Lang are from.
It's where it all happens. It's all happening in Lang.
It's all happening there. In the Mountain of Madness.
Lang is like the Prague.
In the Mountain of Madness, Danforth believes that the city of the Elder Things is in fact on the Plateau of Lang, even though we already know it's in Central Asia. However, because of tectonics, perhaps the city of the Elder Things has drifted into Antarctica. We don't know. I think that Lang is a multidimensional space that exists both in the Dreamlands and in the real world and on Earth, and is connected to pretty much whatever you want it to be connected to. Like, it seems to be a focal point of the multiverse, as you would say, if you're a Marvel dork, which I'm not. But Lang is special in Lovecraft, and I like that it is mentioned here along with the first mention of the Necronomicon. So,
Yeah.
And so let's hit the mailbag.
Okay.
Because we have some email from fans. So the first one is from Andy Ulp, and he says a bunch of nice things, including, good luck in London and all of that, which we'll talk about here in a minute. But he specifically recommends a board game for us. So, because, we talk about some of the Lovecraft games, and he recommends Cthulhu Death May Die by Come On Games.
What? That sounds fun.
It is. I've seen this board game before, like real briefly in probably in a Shut Up, Sit Down or something. It is a Kickstarter game, which means that it has a bunch of paintable miniatures.
Oh,
which
that's up
I'm
your
very,
alley. Yeah,
very excited
you
about.
You have painted at least 2 miniatures.
I painted a few Gloomhaven miniatures in my time. One of my early before the podcast, one of my pandemic hobbies is like, I'm going to get into painting miniatures because all I want is a skeleton army. And I painted more than 2. I painted a few.
4?
I think I painted 4. I painted the Tinker.
Were you like double that?
Yes, I painted 4 miniatures. But yeah, I would still like to paint miniatures because this is like a part of my nerdy childhood that I never really got into, mainly because I couldn't be bothered because I don't have the patience. I'll have a link in the show notes. Board Game Geek likes it, scores it well. It is a pulpy kind of shoot 'em up adventure game. But also Lovecraft, and so we'll check it out. And then I got this other email, and just allow me to read it to you in full. All right. Hello, Tod and Claire. It starts off ominous. Great to hear you're coming to London. If I can round up a Lovecraftian posse, I'll happily pay 10 to 15 pounds to hear Claire's next revelation in person. I'm really enjoying the show, and I like Lovecraft reading every now and again, and you do a great job of those. Thank you. At first, I thought maybe the discussion episodes were just the mindless flute whine around that non-Euclidean center, but I've seen the shining trapezohedron. I've seen the shining trapezohedron.
I'd like to, before
and
you
now I know it's Cyclopean all the way. Yours in the dream of the notorious blind idiot god, Hugh Simpson, location undisclosed.
Whoa! I'm sorry, but I'm gonna have to marry this person, and we're gonna have to get divorced.
Well, do we though? I mean, it's a whole nother country.
That's true.
I'm pretty sure you can just get married.
Oh,
all right. So.
Sorry, I'm eating a cookie.
When you're done eating your cookie, we can continue podcasting. Thank you so much, Hugh Simpson. I hope to see you there. We're recording this on Sunday, January 15th.
Yeah.
Our show is on
Wednesday, February 15th.
15th, 1 month from today.
Whoa.
And
today is not a...
Today is the 15th. I'm just counting 15th to 15th. So maybe
I'm still eating the cookie.
Maybe we can stop eating while we're podcasting.
No, we cannot. You're not going to cut this out.
But yeah, we'll be. Jesus Christ.
Now I do.
We're definitely a professional podcasting team. All right, Hugh, I very much hope to see you there.
I'm going to bring cookies for the audience.
Of course you will, because I can't help but notice. We have sold 0 tickets here on January 15th, but maybe that'll change tomorrow because
it's the sold tickets you don't see.
Right. That's the jazz of Lovecraft. And so I'm going to tell you right now, here's how you buy tickets. These tickets are between 10 and 15 pounds. In fact, they are 12 pounds regular, 10 pounds concession, which is a thing that it happens in England that I've never heard before.
Also, as an American,
yeah,
when we're talking about these tickets are 12 pounds, I'm like, oh, they're not that heavy. You guys, it's not that.
Nope, that's not what pounds means.
You can just put them in your pocket.
12 pounds. Come see us. Whatever. You know what you're paying for? You're paying for the staff. That's what you're paying for.
Also, if you want to come see us and you cannot afford the ticket, shut up, Todd Beardsley. If you want to come see us and you can't afford the ticket, email us and I will buy your ticket.
Okay. Well, Claire will buy your ticket.
I will.
If you're listening to this episode.
Yes.
Anyway, just go to bit.ly/podsothoth-tickets. That will do it. Also, there'll be links in the show notes.
You could
obviously.
Google Podsothoth Tickets London Lovecraft Festival. Right?
Yeah, you'll probably find it. Who knows? for reasons we won't go into. If you just go to bit.ly/podsawthoth dash ticket. I don't even know where the slashes and dashes are. We got the slashes and dashes, Jerry. Jerry.
I don't know what's with the slashes and the dashes.
I don't slash, I dash. Oh, Jesus Christ. So, buy the tickets. Come to the show. It'll be great. It'll be this, but live. It'll be this, but like all the stuff you don't see that gets edited
Come
out.
to the London. They said it'd be great. It'd be a blast.
Yeah.
I feel like we're whipping out all of these
Americanisms.
American references, but surely people from the UK must be familiar with Die Hard,
Oh,
right?
surely, yeah.
Come to the Dover coast. This island. Cut all of this out, please.
Yeah,
Sounds so
probably.
dumb.
I don't know. Anyway, I'm very excited to come back to London. I'm very excited to come to London in February. I hope to see you there.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, so we will have our show, and then obviously,
And there's
the
a whole
show-
festival, by the way.
Yeah.
There's a whole London
Go to all
Lovecraft
different-
Festival.
yeah.
Follow them on Mastodon. Just search for a London
Okay,
Lovecraft.
and also for those of you that
For non-weirdos.
yes are look them up on Facebook. We're all there. I'm sorry that my husband is very anti-Facebook. Like, I get it, but also it's like look, fucking big oxygen assholes. I get it, big oxygen, but also you need oxygen to live. Turns out.
Wait, are you comparing Facebook to the chemical oxygen?
Yeah, unfortunately, I am. Yes.
Okay, well.
So, no, come
Yes.
out.
Hugh, thank you so much for the letter.
Yeah.
Son Patrick, I hope you come out. We have talked about finding out what you look like, making a cardboard cutout of you, and putting you on the stage, Sean Patrick.
No, I said in a seat. I want to put him in a seat. So I if I get nervous, I've got
Sean Patrick.
some
sort of marionette.
I have a 2-dimensional picture
Maybe
of somebody
like
to look
a
at.
yarn base.
Oh yeah. Oh my God! Thank God, Todd Beardsley is so dedicated to editing.
All right, well, that's it. That's the whole show. So this has been Pod Sawthoth, a Lovecraft book club with your pals on the internet, Claire Reynolds and Todd Beardsley. Thank you so much. And please, if you are grave robbing, just let dead things lie.
God, I'm sorry. I'm the worst.